Well, now we are going to start our Dhamma talk. Uh, in order to start the Dhamma talk, first we have to pay our homage to the Supreme Buddha. Therefore, we shall say together, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Sati Sampajanye Bhikkhave Asati Sati Sampajanya Vipannassa Hatupani Sangoti Hirotappang Sati Sampajanye Bhikkhave Sati Sati Sampajanya Sampannassa Upanisa Sampanno Sampannang Koti. Dear Dhamma friends, dear Venerable Mahasangha, especially our Hamduro and Sinanda Hamduro, dear friends in Dhamma, now we are participating in the Dhamma talk. Before this, I have to mention the sponsors for the Dhamma talk. They are Samir Daluwatta and Tilini Daluwatta, in memory of the late Samira's father. They are going to sponsor for this Dhamma talk. Today we are going to discuss a very special Dhamma discussion with regard to completely with regard to the mindfulness. I am going to discuss a specific sutta which is found in the numerical discourses. In Pali, it is so-called Anguttara Nikaya. In this Dhamma treatise, we can find a specific discourse delivered by our Supreme Lord Buddha. The theme or the title of this sutta is mindfulness or Sati Sampajanya Sutta. Throughout this discourse or the doctrine delivered by the Lord Buddha, we can identify the significance of the mindfulness, especially the mindfulness and the clear comprehension. Mindfulness and clear comprehension. In addition to that, we can understand how the mindfulness helps us to reach the full enlightenment or the liberation. We generally have understood the term mindfulness, and many of us know that the mindfulness is highly beneficial for our day-to-day life, as well as to have the progress in Dhamma practicing. The mindfulness is a key reason, as taught by our Lord Buddha. Within this Dhamma doctrine, the title of the sutta I mentioned, which mentioned, that is Sati Sampajanya Sutta. Within the discourse, Lord Buddha has delivered us the significance of the mindfulness and how it result in reaching enlightenment or the liberation, especially the liberation according to Buddha's teaching. Lord Buddha has explained how the mindfulness is helpful gradually to understand the liberation or read the liberation. Therefore, Lord Buddha has shown us 8 steps from the mindfulness to understanding the liberation. First step is, Lord Buddha mentions, mindfulness or sati in Pali. In terms of Pali language, mindfulness is called as sati. Sati means mindfulness or awareness or complete or wise attention, especially what we say, what we do, and what we think. Lord Buddha mentioned first step as the mindfulness or sati sampajanya. There are two words, sati and sampajanya. Sati means mindfulness, and the sampajanya means clear comprehension. Therefore, Lord Buddha mentions sati and clear comprehension is highly beneficial for understanding the liberation. First, Lord Buddha mentioned that sati sampajanye bhikkave asati sati sampajanye vipannassa hatupanisang hoti hirottappam. Lord Buddha mentioned if there is no the mindfulness and clear comprehension, we cannot find the reason for having the moral shame and moral dread. Like in Pali, it is called mindfulness or the sati is the key reason for having the moral shame and moral dread. In Pali, it is said lajja and bhaya. Sati is the cause for having the lajja and bhaya. If there is no sati, we cannot have the lajja and bhaya or the moral shame and moral dread. Lord Buddha mentioned next, sati is the cause for lajja and bhaya or the moral shame and moral dread. Also, moral shame and moral dread, lajja and bhaya is the cause for indriya samvara or restraint of sensual faculties. Lord Buddha gradually mentions throughout this discourse how the mindfulness gradually relates to moral shame and moral dread and restraint of sensual faculties. And next step is sensual moral dread and moral dread, sensual faculty, understanding the significance of the moral dread and moral shame and moral dread is the key reason for having the restraint of sensual faculties. And the restraint of sensual faculties is the reason for sila or moral behaviors or virtuous behaviors. And virtuous behavior is the reason or the cause for concentration or the samadhi. And concentration is the cause for or the reason for nibbida viraga or disenchantment and dispassion. Nibbida viraga. And nibbida viraga or that disenchantment and dispassion is the cause or the reason for having the knowledge and vision of things as they are. Yatabhuta jnana darsana. Yatabhuta jnana darsana, and the next step is Yatabhuta jnana darsana or the knowledge and vision of things as they are is the reason or the cause for the knowledge and vision of liberation. It is called in Pali as Vimutti Jnana Dassana, or to have the complete liberation. Therefore, we can gradually or get step by step understand how the mindfulness or the sati helps to have the full enlightenment, full liberation. There are 8 steps as taught by the Lord Buddha. First we need sati. Then we sati or the mindfulness and clear comprehension. And secondly, we need moral shame and moral dread. And next, we need to have we need to have indriya samvara or the restraint of sensual faculties. Next reason is we should have the sila, and sila is the sila is the see, after having the sila helps to go to next step, that is samadhi. Samadhi helps to have the yatha bhuta jnana dassana, or the knowledge and vision of things as they are. Yatha bhuta jnana dassana, or yatha bhuta jnana dassana, or the knowledge and vision of things as they are is the cause or the reason for having the nibbida viraga, or disenchantment and dispassion. Disenchantment and dispassion is the cause or the reason for having the knowledge and vision of liberation. Therefore, Lord Buddha has mentioned 8 steps in this discourse. Now we can discuss in detail what is sati and what is hirottappa, hiriyannottappa, or moral shame and moral dread, and what is indriya samvara means, or the or restraint of sensual faculties, and what is sila, and what is samadhi, and what is yatha bhuta jnana dassana means, what what yatha bhuta jnana dassana means, and what nibbida viraga means, and what is the liberation or the vimutti jnana dassana means. Throughout this discourse, Lord Buddha has clearly mentioned, especially relying on the theory of cause and effect, which is understood as a main base of Lord Buddha's teaching. The theory of cause and effect is clearly emphasized in this sutta, how the sati relates to the utmost liberation or the final liberation, or the vimutti jnana dassana. How sati relates to or helps to have the complete liberation. First, we have to understand what sati means. Sati can be understood that you may have ever heard a gatha, which is found in the Dhamma pada, appamado amata pada, pamado machuno pada, appamattana miyanti yepamatta yatamata. Lord Buddha mentioned a specific term, appamada. Sometimes we understand appamada means not being delayed or not, but Lord Buddha's, but it is not the clear meaning with regard to the appamada. Appamada means the mindfulness or the awareness, complete awareness. That's why Lord Buddha mentioned in his last word, appamadena sampadeta. You have to, you should not be delayed to delay to engage in Dhamma practicing. Lord Buddha mentioned appamadu ambata padam, or mindfulness or being mindful is the reason for having the liberations or the nibbana. Appamada or the sati means the full awareness of what we say, what we think, and what we do. Especially, we have to be completely aware of our bodily, verbally, and mentally behaviors. Every moment is significant. Once Lord Buddha mentioned that Atitan nanu sochan atitan nanvagameya nappatikanke anagatan yadatitam pahinantang appattancha anagatan. Lord Buddha mentions many people are always living in the past. And some are thinking of the futures, or future dreams, or future goals, but they are not living in the present moment. But Lord Buddha highly recommended that one who is living in the present moment is the man who can actually practice the Dhamma as it is. Without being present, without living in the present moment, no one can touch the teaching of the Lord Buddha. Because every moment is highly beneficial and highly helpful us to observe what Dhamma means. Therefore, Lord Buddha mentioned, as I mentioned in the Gatha or the verse I mentioned before, Appamadu Ambatapada. Being awareness or being mindful is the way to have the Nibbana or the liberation. Once Lord Buddha mentioned in a specific sutta in the numerical discourses, so Anguttara Nikaya, he said that if someone's mind is completely free from hatred, delusion, and desire, that moment is the moment where somebody can experience the liberation in this life itself. According to Lord Buddha's teaching, the place or the moment where we have completely eradicated desire, hatred, and delusion, there where we can observe and experience the Nibbana or the liberation. But in this life itself, we can observe and experience the nature of liberation if we are involving if we are lively involving in what we say, what we do, what we think, and where we have completely refrained from hatred, delusion, and desire, we can experience the nature of liberation within this life itself. But it cannot be the complete liberation, but we can experience the nature of liberation where we have a completely refrain from the hatred, delusion, and desire. We can experience the liberation. Therefore, sati or the mindfulness is highly beneficial for this life, because as I mentioned earlier, to observe the nature of Dhamma, to observe the time, and to observe the time and space scientifically, and to understand the nature of life and nature of time and nature of life, we have to completely be aware of the present moment. Therefore, Lord Buddha once mentioned in a specific sutta which is delivered by the Lord Buddha, it is Lord Buddha mentions that Pachuppannesu Dhammesu tatta vipassati. One should be able to observe how one's mind is working in the present moment. And one who is completely aware of how someone's mind is working, then he can observe, he can be aware of the nature of the life, nature of the mind, nature of the feelings, and you may have heard the four types of satipatthana, aware of body, aware of mind, aware of Dhamma, and aware of the mind. And those are the four types of satipatthana. Within the Lord Buddha's teaching, Lord Buddha always mentioned ajjeva kiccang atappang kojanya maranansve. We have to be mindful, or we have to live in the present moment, observing how our mind, body, and everything works. To touch the nature of the Dhamma, we have to live in the present moment. Without living in the present moment, being, without having the mindfulness and clear comprehension, we are unable to observe the nature or the reality of the world. To Lord Buddha mentioned in his within the insight meditation, or the Vipassana Bhavana, Lord Buddha mentioned that one who is insightful about the present moment can observe the nature of the feelings, nature of the mind, nature of the wholesome and unwholesome roots. In order to observe the nature of wholesome and unwholesome roots, we have to be in the present moment. But many of us are living in the past moments. Sometimes we cannot be in the present moments because our mind is always going to past experiences. That's why Lord Buddha once mentioned about the nature of our mind. Durangamang ekacharang. Our mind is always go away from us. And pandanan chapalan chittang. Our mind is in the nature of fickling and always changing. It cannot be controlled by ourselves sometimes. It goes away from us. It means that it goes away from us means it never go from our body, but it goes to the earlier experiences we have already had throughout our life. If not, our minds goes to future. I will be this type of man, I will be do these things, I have this type of goals and dreams and those things, but we are not actually engaging in what we should do in the present moment. Therefore, Lord Buddha mentioned one who is having the mindfulness and clear comprehension with regard to the present moment, he will gradually have a progress in Dhamma practicing. That's why Lord Buddha mentioned one who has the skill of being present moment will go to the next step. That is, he will have moral shame and moral dread, or lajja and bhaya. Lajja and bhaya means sati is highly helpful to go to the next step, that is having the lajja and bhaya. For what we should have the lajja and bhaya, or the moral shame and moral dread. That is not just the shame or the dread. It has a specific adjective, that is moral shame and moral dread. We have to be ashamed of doing wrong things using our body, mind, and speech. One who is living in the present moment will have, and that will be the cause for having the, or living in the present moment will be the cause for having the lajja and bhaya, or to having the moral shame and moral dread, because he will always having the reproach of himself, or he is always afraid of doing bad things. It is called attanuvada bhaya. He has the moral moral shame of uh, doing bad things, because he will if he do any bad things, he will blame by himself. That is called self reproach, attanuvada baya. And if not, one who is having the satiko, the mindfulness, will never engage in bad things using his body, mind, and speech, because he gradually will have the moral shame and moral dread, lajja and baya for doing bad things. But if we are not having the mindfulness, or if we are not living in the present moment, we cannot go to that steps, or the having the moral shame and moral dread. In order to have the moral shame and moral dread, we should be mindful, or we should live in the present moment. And Lord Buddha mentioned how the lajja and baya is helpful us to have a progress in Dhamma. Many people are doing wrong things without having the moral shame and moral dread. They just do what they like. But at the end of their life, they will have the frustration. They will have the regression of what they have done throughout their lives. But one who is mindful, or one who is trying to live in the present moment, will have the moral shame and moral debt, and he will understand, I should not do this thing, because he is mindful, because what he is going to do, what he is going to think, what he is going to say. Therefore, being mindful is the one way of refraining from us from bad things with regard to our body, mind, and speech. But without having the mindfulness, or living in the present moment, we cannot be aware of what we say, what we do, what we think. Therefore, we will, instead of having the moral shame and moral debt, we will have the regression if we are not living in the present moment. That's why Lord Buddha mentioned, being mindful of what we say, what we do, and what we think is highly helpful to have a progress in Dhamma practice. That is, one who is having the practicing the mindfulness will go to the next step, that is having the moral shame and moral dread. Then Lord Buddha mentioned, now one who has, now we understood two steps from the mindfulness, having mindfulness, and what is the benefit of having mindfulness. Its benefit is to have the benefit of having the mindfulness is to have the moral shame and moral dread for doing wrong things using our body, mind, and speech. Then having the moral shame and moral dread will, how it will be, what will be the next step, or how it helps go have a next step, that is called Indriya Samvara, or restraint of sensual faculties. One who is having the moral shame and moral dread, he will be controlled by himself. He never use his eye, his ear, his nose, his tongue, his body, and his mind for wrong things, because he has he has observed, and he has experienced, and he has followed the mindfulness. As he has followed the mindfulness, he has go to the next step, or next or the progress of the Dhamma practice, that is having the moral shame and moral dread. Then one who is having the moral shame and moral dread will will restrain his sense faculties, that is, which it is called Indriya Samvara. Sati, the next step is uh, Lajjabaya, and the third step is Indriya Samvara. He never he as one who is having the one who is having the moral shame and moral dread will never in engage in using his eyes, nose, tongue, and other faculties for doing bad things. They know they will never use their sensual faculties for bad actions, because he's always, he's basically based on mindfulness, and he's having the moral shame and moral dread. Then he will be controlled by himself, and he is full aware of how he is using of how he is using his five sensual faculties. Therefore he is having the uh, restraint of sensual faculties. That is how we go step by step forward, as taught by the Lord Buddha in this sutta. First, we have understood now three steps. First, if someone has the mindfulness, he will have the lajja and vayakut, the moral shame and moral dread. And one who is having the moral shame and moral dread, he will go to the next step, that is indriya samvara, or the restraint of sensual faculties. Then one who has the restraint of sensual faculty, or one who is practicing the restraint of sensual faculty, will go to the next step, that is sila, or the virtuous behavior. In order to go to the next step, or the virtuous behavior or sila, we have to practice the last step we mentioned, that is indriya samvara. Because sila, you already know that according to Lord Buddha's main teaching, that is eightfold path, there are three reasons related to sila. That is samma vacha, or right speech, samma kammanto, or right action, and samma ajiva, or right livelihood. Those three types of actions are directly related to the sila, or the moral behavior, or the virtuous behavior. Sila is the place where we are completely controlled from doing bad things. Especially sila means the control of our body and verbal actions. That's why Lord Buddha mentioned right speech and right action and right livelihood is related to the sila, or the virtuous behavior. There are eightfold path is separated to three types of main teaching, that is sila, samadhi, and panya. Sila, as I explained, the sila means right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Then we need to practice sila and samadhi and the panya. According to Lord Buddha's the prime teaching, or the main teaching, we have to gradually practice sila, samadhi, and prajna, virtuous behavior, concentration, and finally the wisdom. Everything we do as good things are related to three types of this teaching. It may related to sila, it may related to samadhi, or it may related to prajna or panya. Therefore, three types of the main teaching of Lord Buddha is highly beneficial for having the complete understanding of, or having the full liberations. Then we go to the last step we discussed, that is one who is having the restraint of sensual faculties, he will gradually go to the next step, that is experiencing and practicing the sila, or the virtuous behavior. Then he will never do bad thing using his words, uh, using his words and using his body. He is completely aware of how he is using his body and his speech, and highly mindful of the wrong things related to the body and wrong things related to speech, and highly be mindful of using his mouth and his body, and highly careful of, and he is always having the wise attention towards using one's own body and speech. Therefore, he is completely controlled in the context of sila. That's the next step. Then after practicing, after having and observing or experiencing the step of sila or virtuous behavior, the next he will go to the next step. According to this sutta, Lord Buddha mentioned the sila will be the cause for having the samadhi or the concentration. One who is completely controlled using one's own 5 or 6 faculties, and one who is completely aware of using body, mind, and body, mind, and speech, he will be controlled by himself. Now he is in the context of a very specific uh, man, because he has followed several steps from from mindfulness to the virtuous behavior or the sila. Then one who is having and practicing the sila, he will go to the next step, that is right concentration, samma samadhi. Samma samadhi means the concentration or the recollection of one's own might in the context of right understanding, or where the mind is fully engaged in observing the nature of the world, and especially to separate or to differentiate what is wholesome, what is unwholesome, what should be done, what should be said, and what should be thought of. Then one who is having the samadhi can observe and can experience the nature of Dhamma, nature of life, and nature of the, now he is in a very specific state, that is the state of right concentration. Then one who is in the reason for having the right concentration is one who is having or practicing the virtuous behavior, that is sila. Without having the sila, one cannot go to or have the right concentration, that is samma samadhi. One who is having the samma samadhi, samadhi means the full concentration. One who is fully aware of doing, thinking, uh, and deciding the things related to his mind, body, and actions, and then he will completely control his 5 faculties and understand one's own life, and he will completely escape from doing bad things, and just he will focus on doing the most important and most thing that is praiseworthy, according to Lord Buddha's teaching. Then Lord Buddha mentioned one who is having the samadhi or the right samma samadhi, or the right concentration, he will go to the next step, that is having the knowledge and vision of things as they are. That is, in Pali it is called yata bhuta jnana darsana. Yata bhuta jnana darsana is a higher rank from to have that rank. He should already practice or have to step on the samadhi or the right concentration. One who is having the right concentration can go to the next step, that is Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana. He will observe the reality as it is. He can observe one's own life and the world outside of him, or the external world, and he will understand the nature of things as they are. Therefore, Yata Bhuta Darsana. Yata Bhuta Darsana is things will be understood by someone as they are. Therefore, to have the realistic understanding, or to understand something realistically, one should have the right concentration, and one who is having the right concentration will go to the next step, that is Yata Bhuta Jnana. That is, he is completely different from the people who are not having the Samadhi and mindfulness, and those steps we discussed earlier. But one who has completely developed the earlier steps from mindfulness, Hiriyottappa, Indriya Samvara, Sila, and Samadhi will go to the next step, that is Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana. Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana means the ability of understand the things as they are. That is where we are gradually going to have the light. Now we are going to escape from the darkness. Now we are going to have a little light from especially experiencing and practicing the mindfulness. Then he will go to gradually towards the light. Then Lord Buddha mentioned one who is having the Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana, or realistic understanding of how the nature of life and the external world, and especially the deep teaching with regard to Nama Rupa, and those deep understanding will come up in the context of Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana. Before that, one should have practice, or one should have experienced the Samma Samadhi. Then Lord Buddha delivered the next step, that is, one who is having the Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana, called the knowledge and vision of things as they are. He will go to the next step. That step is understood as Nibbida Viraga. Nibbida Viraga means disenchantment and dispassion. Nibbida Viraga. If we observe, if we experience the Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana, or the knowledge and vision of things as they are, then we will understand what we should practice, and what we should not practice, and what is the way we should follow, what is the way we should not follow. And to differentiate the real path and the wrong path, the one should have practice and observe the knowledge and experience the knowledge and vision of things as they are. Then he will go to the next step, that is having the where he will have the disenchantment and dispassion, Nibbida Viraga. He will completely understood in the context of Nibbida Viraga, or in the context of disenchantment and dispassion, what he should do further. And he will differentiate, he will select his own path, and will understand, I should not practice these things, I should not have the desire more, and I should not have the hatred, and I should not have the delusion. And he will differentiate the deep, and he will have the deep understanding of his own life, and the reality of the world, and the nature of the world. And he's now he will be more insightful, and he will become more sophisticated in the context of Nibbida Viraga. He sometimes he will not be he will be sometimes abnormal with compared to other people, because he has gradually followed several steps, and now uh, he is in the context of nibbida viraga. So that is the place where he will have a specific understanding and comprehension. And one who is in the context of, or one who is practicing the nibbida viraga, will go to the last step, that is vimutti jnana darsana, where he will have the knowledge and vision, knowledge and the vision of liberation. Knowledge and vision of liberation will be uh, understood one who already had the skill in the context of nibbida viraga, or disenchantment and dispassion. One who is having the disenchantment and dispassion will go to the next step, that is where he will have the knowledge and vision of liberation, or vimutti jnana darsana. Then throughout this discourse, vimutti jnana darsana means he will have, sometimes he will have the holiness or arahantship, or sometimes he will go arahat magga or arahat pala, the way of holiness or the result of holiness. Therefore, that is how the mindfulness is basically helped us to have the liberation. From the one who is not having the mindfulness, he will be unable to, he will be not able to go to further in the or to have the progress in the Dhamma practicing. Therefore, practicing mindfulness throughout this discourse, Lord Buddha clearly mentioned and clearly explained how the mindfulness helps to reach the knowledge and vision of liberation, or vimutti jnana darsana. Therefore, just as normal people, we normally think that mindfulness is a very specific and very significant teaching, and especially people throughout the world are highly careful of practicing mindfulness, because it is highly helpful to have the productivity in the context of worldly life, to have the productivity, or to escape from the multitasking, to live in the present moment, is highly considered by the academia and the in the general world, especially the Westerners. They are highly careful of the practicing the mindfulness to have the productivity in the context of worldly life. However, you can understand how the mindfulness will help us to have the liberation, as taught by our Lord Buddha in the sutta titled Sati Sampajanya Sutta. Therefore, we can deeply understand the mindfulness is not just help us to have the productivity in the context of our normal life, it is highly beneficial for have the liberations too. Therefore, Buddhist teaching is highly significant in the context of understanding or having the fully liberation, where many of people are searching for. But Lord Buddha, before 2500 years ago, he has completely and deeply understood and revealed the world how the mindfulness is helping us to have the liberation. Therefore, we as Buddhist people, and as the people who are having the interest in Buddha's teaching, uh, we can understand explaining the teaching of Sati Sampajanya Sutta, how the mindfulness and clear comprehension helps us to have the progress in practicing Dhamma. Therefore, considering the time, I'm not going to lengthen the Dhamma talk. In conclusion, we can remind again the Lord Buddha's teaching with regard to the sati, or mindfulness help us to have 8 steps or the final liberation. First, we have to understand that sati is the cause for having the moral shame and moral dread, or uh, uh, moral shame, lajja and bhaya, hero tappa. And moral shame and moral dread is the reason or the cause for having the indriya samvara or restraint of sensual faculties. uh, Restraint of sensual faculties is the cause for having the sila or the virtuous behavior. Virtuous behavior is the cause for having the samadhi or the concentration. Concentration or right concentration is the reason for having the knowledge and vision of things as they are. The knowledge and vision of things as there is the cause for having the disenchantment and dispassion or nibbida viraga, where we differentiate everything in the world, and we differentiate, and we will select what we have, what we have to practice and what we should not practice. And the other thing is, the last thing is, uh, disenchantment and dispassion is the cause for having the uh, vision, knowledge and vision of liberation. Therefore, then we can, in brief, understand how the mindfulness help us to have the final liberation according to the Sati Sampajanya Sutta, taught in the numerical discourse. This discourse is coming in the 8th chapter of the numerical discourses, so Anguttara Nikaya. The title of the sutta is Sati Sampajanya Sutta. It is it is where Lord Buddha has taught the Dhamma depending on the theory of cause and effect, with especially with regard to the mindfulness and the liberation. Therefore, we can clearly understand how the mindfulness is morally help us, instead of just delimiting or confining to understand the significance of mindfulness for our day-to-day life. It helps us to have the final liberations, and how the Lord Buddha uh, has explained the significance of mindfulness helped us to have the progress in the context of practicing Lord Buddha's teaching. Therefore, I am not going to let in the Dhamma talk more. Now we have listened a specific sutta delivered by the Lord Buddha. The title of the sutta we discuss here is Sati Sampajanya Sutta, which is found in the numerical discourses. Throughout this period, we have gathered, or we have collected numerous and limitless merits. Now we shall concentrate on all the merits we collected here, may helps to have the final liberation, especially for the father, the late father of Mr. Samir Daluwatta and Tilini and other family members. We can transfer merits for the whole other departed relatives, maybe related to your, maybe your mother, father, or other relatives. We shall think of that all the merits we collected here may helps to have the final liberation and to have a wonderful and meaningful and very insightful life in the context of samsara, and to free from all the sufferings. May these merits may result in those people who or who departed as your relatives. Therefore, thinking of that, we shall transfer merit, say in the Gatha. Idamme ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṃ hotu sukitā hontu ñātayo. And all the merits we gathered or collected here may help all the Dhamma listeners to have a wonderful, meaningful, and to have a bright and very good lives in these lives too, and to have the deep understanding of the Lord Buddha's teaching. And thinking of that I would like to say, bless you, saying the Gatha. Abhivādana sīlissa niccang vaddha pacāyino cattaro dhamma vaddanti āyuvanno sukhang balang āyurārogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca ato nibbāna sampatti iminate samicchatu. May the blessing of the triple gem be with you. Thank you for listening, Dhamma. Tiruvan Saranai Hamadanath.
Tiruvan Saranai Hamadanath.
Tiruvan Saranai.
Tiruvan Saranai.
Tiruvan Saranai.
Tiruvan Saranai Hamadanath.
Tiruvan Saranai Hamadanath. Okay, now. එහෙනම් අපි සමුගන්නම් ඊළඟ සතියේ සති අන්තයේ පැවැත්වෙන ධර්ම දේශනාවටත් හැමදෙනාම සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න කියලා මතක් කරනවා. නැවතත් හැමදෙනාටම තෙරුවන් සරණයි. අපි මෙතනකින් නවතිනවා. හොඳයි. තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
Tiruvan Saranai.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි.